What's up? Welcome in. Hoge and Jahns back with you as we jump in to week 4. Bears and Rams, our official preview episode. What's going on, Jahns? Are you ready?
Punting is winning.
That's right. By the way, shout out to I don't even know where this I think it's like from Tory Taylor's foundation or something.
Okay.
But
Adam Hoge is wearing that shirt if you're not watching on YouTube.
yeah, wearing a punting is winning shirt. It's even got Australia on it. Yeah, Greg Braggs bought this for me. He's a nice
What a nice guy.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever bought you anything.
I was gonna say, I don't think you ever bought. I mean, you might have bought me Portillo's only because you're forced to after losing a bet, but that's about it.
We haven't had a Portillo's bet in a while.
Well, we might need one.
We might. It's not officially a football Bear season if that doesn't happen.
Right.
Which
punting
I tend to lose those bets a lot. So let me think of a good thing to bet on.
Yeah. No, I don't know what your record is, but it's not very good in those bets. Which is good for me in getting my Portillo's. By the way, punting hasn't really been winning for the Bears so far. We're going to get into that and the impacts of that with the offense. Today, we got Mark Potash, our good friend, our buddy, who had a viral tweet this week with all the offensive coordinator candidates and the success that they've been having around the league elsewhere. So he's going to join us. And as always, you should be following us on Twitter at Adam Hoge, at Adam Jahns, and you can follow the show at Hoge and Jahns. All the merch is up, hogeandjahns.com. And yeah, you should go. I couldn't tell you got the. Yeah, you got the.
I got the blue pullover on. Yes.
There we go. All right. I want to start with this, Johnsy, as we jump into this, but it feels for different reasons. But it was about this time last year that there was a significant adversity striking. Now, I don't think this is to that level. The Bears at least do have one win. We're talking about different circumstances. Of course, this was about the time last year the defensive coordinator was under fire for things that were going on off the field. And eventually a change had to be made there. But this is more for football reasons. The same type of sort of adversity and scrutiny and criticism and, whatever word you want to use too, it seems to be on Shane Waldron right now. And for the third straight September, the Bears, let's just say Septembers have not been very kind to Matt Eberflus.
No. I want to say it was this time last year. We were on to the Chase Claypool part of the September drama, correct?
Yeah, probably. Because was it week 3 they went and got killed in Kansas City?
Yes.
So then they came back for week 4. I want to say it was all kind of going on that day, I want to say, of the week 4 game. And then they ended up just letting him go afterwards.
Since then, the Bears have actually acknowledged in multiple press conferences that acquiring him has been a mistake.
Yeah. Well, good, because it was.
I think to segue this, I think we're all wondering now, was hiring Shane Waldron a mistake?
Right. Well, that is a good segue, because let's bring in Mark Potash from the Chicago Sun-Times, who's done a great job covering the Bears and Chicago sports forever. As we bring him in here, because he's got some good insight on this. Potsy, welcome back to Hoge and Jahns.
Hey guys, how you guys doing? Same old, huh?
Yes.
Something never changed.
Sure feels that way. Just new names, right? Same stories, new names.
Yeah, right. I wrote a story this week. I just changed all the Nagy's to Eberflus and all the Chargers to Colts, and it took me 5 minutes.
Easy, right?
The easiest
job
piece
done.
of it. Yeah, it's good. Mark, you had a tweet earlier this week that I've had random people just reference to me, like multiple times in the last few days. But that was looking at. I'm trying to scroll down and see if I can find it right here. Here it is from September 25th. The 6 candidates for the Bears offensive coordinator position were hired as an offensive coordinator in the NFL. That includes Shane Waldron, of course, getting hired by the Bears. And then the early updates. And long story short, lists points, yards per play. And the Bears are at the bottom. And at the very top, Clint Kubiak, Cliff Kingsbury up there, second and third, respectively. I couldn't see. These are the ones where I can't tell if it's your stick or if it's actual, good insight. And I think this one was both. I think it was good. It was Potsy's stick, but also like actually this is a real thing that's happening right now, and we need to pay attention to this.
Yeah, absolutely, it was both because no, it's unfair to do that in general, except for the fact that the Bears are last. They're
Yeah.
always last. And the question, I think that's just kind of, I think the frustration of Bears fans is why are the Bears? It's the same. You talk about writing the same story. It's the same story. I'm sure I'm going to write in the next week or two, or I could not sure, but I could if things keep going the same way. Is why is developing an offense and a quarterback with the Bears always like pulling bleeping teeth? And I've written that story like 3 times in the last 5 years, and we're heading in that direction again. And I think that's part of the frustration is that, right, 3 weeks is way too early to make any kind of judgment, but the Bears are last. If they were in the middle, I wouldn't even do something like that. But why are they always last? And then, why? And also the other factor, they're not to overanalyze a tweet because it's just for fun for me. But there's a team on that list that has the same situation or worse than the Bears. They have a first-time offensive coordinator. They have a first-time, a new head coach. They have 3 new players on their offensive line. And I'm talking about the Commanders and a rookie quarterback, and they get out of the gate fast. Now, who knows? Maybe it'll level off. It could end. This could end up being an overreaction. But based on what the Bears have done historically, it's definitely worth pointing out that somebody else is always doing things better than the Bears, and that's, I think Bears fans have a problem with that.
So we were in the locker room yesterday, and Mercedes Lewis, the oldest player on the team, 19 years in the NFL, about to set an NFL record for games played by a tight end on Sunday, had a large scrum, a large media gathering around him, and he had this, well, we're going to play it here, this very interesting quote. You were there. We want to react to it here kind of live, just your thoughts given all the historical context. So can we play this quote quickly?
I'm the oldest guy in the room. Me to the youngest guy. Like, don't feel like you can't, coach us. I want to be coached. I want to be great. Like, this is not, it's just not for play. You know what I mean? Like, this is our job. We understand that, it's a high, stressful, and production-based business, and we all got to be doing the same things or everybody gets fired, right? So, ego is supposed to be left at the door, and that's what it's about. And he's very receptive to that. And I think obviously, coming in, we got a bunch of dudes, right? Not just guys on the team or on this offense. We have dudes that have done it at a high level. And so sometimes as a coach coming in, you might, be walking on eggshells, and I just kind of put that to bed. Like, it's not, nobody's sensitive in here. We want to win a game just as bad as you do. And it's a collaborative effort in everything. This is not Pop Warner. This is, we work together side by side to get things done. And yeah, that's really what my message was.
So that was his message to Shane Waldron. It was Mercedes Lewis, Cole Kmet, DJ Moore, and Caleb Williams, the 4 offensive members of the Leadership Council, in a meeting with Shane Waldron. And that's the message that Lewis delivered to Waldron. Patsy, when you heard that, like, what was your instant reaction? And I guess what's it now a day later?
Well, my instant reaction was probably the same as it is now, is that, with all due respect to Mercedes and Cole and that group, if you're talking about the leadership group in week 4, it's a red flag. That's a conversation we should not be having. From my experience, that's a conversation you should not be having. The offensive coordinator should not be leading off his week 4 press conference talking about the leadership council. When you're talking about that, that's a red flag. That's not good. And I'm not saying that things are gonna go downhill because because even though this is so similar to so many things, you still have the best quarterback prospect that the Bears have ever had. The Bears' salvation is not their leadership group; it's their quarterback. That's gonna turn them into a winning team, and they still have it. And they still have one of the better, a good prospect, maybe I think as good or better than Jane Daniels. So I think that will be their salvation, not their leadership group. It's kind of, I guess, and part of it is just, I'll be honest, I'm jaded after all these years. You know how, like, in tough times, teams talk about how they keep away from the outside noise. Well, in these times like this, I ignore the inside noise. And with all due respect to Mercedes Lewis and what he said eloquently, I tune that out because it's inside noise to me, because I've heard it so many times, I've seen it so many times, and it really, like I said, that's just a conversation you should not be having in week 4. So I'll be honest, it didn't resonate with me like it did with a lot of other people. And maybe I'm wrong, because maybe this thing will get right. But if they do get it right, it'll be because of the quarterback and not the leadership council.
No, I agree with you. And I would throw Matt Eberflus referencing having a 6:30 a.m. film session with his offensive coordinator to discuss personnel matters and how they're used. Like, to me, that's also a red flag. Like, you should not be hearing about such interactions. And sure, we love it as media. We love insight like this, but I've covered professional sports long enough to know when you start hearing about such meetings, it means that something's not working. It means people are confused. People are striving for answers, and those answers may not be there. They're trying to do things differently to fix things that who knows to be corrected.
Yeah,
at least wait until the 6-game losing streak in December.
Look, on the other hand, and I agree with everything you guys are saying, these are red flags. On the other hand, I think it is a positive that they have guys that feel comfortable stepping up and talking, and whether that's in this meeting with the OC, which shouldn't have to happen this early, but at least they're doing something about it, right? At least they feel like they have the guys in the room that can be like, hey, wait a minute, like, don't be afraid to coach us. That being said, that's concerning when you got a 40-year-old tight end.
That's all psychobabble to me, Adam. That's all psychobabble. I mean, that's just I've heard that so many times, and I get it. That means a lot. That means a lot more to them inside their room than it does to us, or it should, than to us outside. I'm sorry, I just don't buy that. I think I just don't buy that as well. That doesn't make me feel like the Bears are gonna get better.
No,
it makes me feel the Bears are gonna get better as they have a really good quarterback.
Well, and I agree with that too. I do think that if this thing gets turned around, it is because of Caleb Williams. But I do want to, and again, it sucks that we have to be doing this on September 27th, but I do want to kind of follow the red flags here, trail the red flags. Because honestly, and I've been reluctant to do this, but this goes back to February, because we had a viral moment on CHGO that continues to go viral pretty much every week with what's been going on with this offense, where we had Jackson Smith and Jigba on the show at the Super Bowl. We asked him about playing for Shane Waldron, and he very awkwardly hesitated and asked if we were live, which put me in an awkward position because technically we weren't live. We were recording, but we were doing what we call live to tape. And then he was like, well, good luck with that. And that continues to go viral. But that was a pretty big red flag right then and there. But you're going to give, like, any of us are going to give the guy the benefit of the doubt. Like, he just got hired. This is just a rookie that, going into his second year. Who knows we don't cover the Seahawks. We don't know what was going on there really that led to that. Not all coaches relate to every player. But what I did hear, and kind of like, because like any other reporter, when you have somebody tell you something like that on the record, you're going to like follow up and try to figure out, okay, what was that all about? Right. And the words that kept coming back were, well, he schemes things up really well. He is a good offensive mind, but he doesn't always relate or connect to the players. And when I hear Mercedes Lewis now in week 4 saying, don't be afraid to coach us up, like, am I on an island here? Or to you, Mark, does this sort of seem to track with what Jackson Smith and Jigba even said back in February? Like, there seems to be and he also said, you might, when you're a coach coming in, you might be walking on eggshells. I just kind of put that to bed. Nobody's sensitive in here. We want to win games, excuse me, just as bad as you do. I mean, that almost tells me like they felt like he didn't feel like he could be honest with the players.
Yeah, I get that, and I have to admit that interview certainly resonates a little more now than it did then, because I think you can always find players who are not happy with a coordinator or any coach. That could be an issue. I'll be honest. My feeling on it is the worst right now that it seems like is just a bad fit. And that's a major issue, of course. But just looking at the run game and the offensive line, kind of writing that for Sunday, is working on that just now. In fact, is that the offensive line is like the one thing now critics are saying, and I get it. Like, how could you say that Caleb Williams was coming into the best situation a number one quarterback has ever come into when you had that offensive line? But that offensive line was actually not bad last year. I mean, the Bears were second in rushing. There was a much better base. And I guess my point is, what concerns me is that this offensive line, to a man, even if you look at like independent grading services, just the eye test, they are all worse than they were under Luke Getsy. And based on Shane Waldron's history, it just seems like the run game, which they need to develop the quarterback, is just not an integral part of what he does. I mean, the Seahawks were second to last in rushing attempts last year, and in his 4 years, or his 3 years, I think they were last in the league in rushing attempts, and in Getsy's 2 years, well, they might have been in the bottom 5, whatever. But in Getsy's 2 years, the running game was like, the Bears had the most rushing attempts. So I guess my point is, I think it's just, it seems like right now, after 3 weeks, it's really early, but right now, the worst I can say for it is, I don't know about the connection between the players. I mean, there could be something there. This guy does not relate well to players. But I think the bigger issue is that it just seems like a bad fit. And you got a guy who really isn't like Getsy was grounded no pun intended, grounded in the run game from Green Bay. I mean, no matter how good Aaron Rodgers was, that offense always had a good run game. And so the Bears had a good run game when he was their offensive coordinator. It doesn't seem like it's the same situation with Shane Waldron. It seems like the run game, and even just the eye test, just watch the games. You talk about, have you ever seen a more overtly, obviously out of sync offense with the run game than you see with this team? Where I'm not a film watcher and I notice it. So I know that you guys certainly have to see that it's just obviously just it just seems like it's going to take a long time to get this thing right. So I guess in a long-winded way, I guess to answer your question, I'd say I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about the relationship part. To me, the big concern is that they just might not be a good fit for what the Bears need, because they need a running game to let this quarterback develop. That's what Poles said at the beginning of the year, was all the support system. That was part of it. And they don't appear to have it. And so that's the most concerning thing to me, is that the offensive line, which was a huge X factor coming in, you got guys like Darnell Wright, who's playing with a back injury, Braxton Jones and Tevin Jenkins, 3 of your guys you really thought had room for improvement. They are playing at a lower level now than they ever did. Not, I don't know about ever did, but they did in general under Getsy. And that's my big concern with it's my big early overreaction concern about Shane Waldron.
I don't think we're overreacting, though. Hoge and I have talked about this. Just like, to me, there's like 2 different levels of patience. Like, you can be patient with Caleb Williams. It's his 3rd career NFL start. He's got a lot to learn. I understand that. But you can still be impatient with what's going on schematically, what's being called. Like, everything you just said kind of reminded me of that old cliche you get. You just want to put players in their best positions to succeed, right? Like, you hear that all the time. You watch this team, whether it's live or later, like on the All-22, and you almost you question that. And maybe that's where the disconnect is between player and coach right now, is you don't need to use DeAndre Carter, all 5'8" and 190 pounds of him, to block, a 6'3", 290-pound defensive end. Like, that doesn't work. Like, there's certain things. Darnell Wright, great run blocker. Tevin Jenkins, great run blocker. Like, why is there a disconnect? Did they all of a sudden become bad run blockers? So maybe that's where the meetings, the conversations, like, if I want to take any positives out of this past couple weeks and all of the talk about communication, maybe Shane Waldron leaves this week entering Sunday with finally a better idea of what his players do best, based on all those maybe honest, tough conversations that have been had this week.
Well, I think a lot of things get to change for that to happen. That's probably what's really interesting. Wouldn't say concerning, because it's just so early, but it is interesting that they seem like they have a long way to go. I don't think it's just a matter of one. Maybe it could change, but based on it's kind of the same old thing. I mean, they just don't seem. I guess what I'm saying, they don't seem close. I mean, who knows? They're playing teams that they couldn't ask for a better schedule. The Colts, the Rams now shorthanded and with the bad run defense, they couldn't ask for a better situation to to get this thing right. So it's really going to be telling this week, Carolina and in London against the Jaguars. We'll find out where this team is headed. So, but I guess my response is that I'm sure they can, but they just don't seem close even.
Yeah, well, I will say, watching the film, I do think the quarterback might be close, and that
right. Oh yeah,
and you said this earlier, like that might be the thing that just kind of solves all the problems. But to sort of spin this forward, I do think this is a big couple weeks here. Let's call it 3 weeks, including the London trip, because then there's a bye. We've heard of players even getting fired on the flight home from London before, basically with the whole Kyle Long story.
Right.
Shout out to Kyle who listens to the show. So that's just sort of a breaking point in the schedule where if you're going to start looking at changes, and I'm not saying they're to that point, but guys, we do see in the NFL, there are special circumstances where you can tell almost right away that a guy's not a great fit, or like this just isn't going to work out. This thing does happen. I'll never forget watching Nathaniel Hackett's first game with the Broncos a couple years ago against the Seahawks and just being like, ooh, this isn't going to work. It's just not going to work. And I don't know if we're to that point with Shane Waldron, but guys, it's not good when 2 out of your first 3 games, there needs to be meetings afterwards to be like, why is this player that we're paying this much money not playing? And why? And then why are we calling this with our tiny wide receiver blocking at the goal line? Meanwhile, Mercedes Lewis, who we pay him to basically be like a offensive tackle tight end hybrid, isn't even on the field. Like that type of stuff to be happening 2 out of the first 3 weeks of the season, when you have the most important asset in your franchise, Caleb Williams, with all of the history behind all this that we've covered, with them screwing this up over and over again, I just have to imagine right now that this is very tense times behind the scenes at Hallis Hall, where there's got to be if this continues on Sunday against the Rams, I don't know how you cannot be having some very hard discussions already that fast, especially when, by the way, Johnsy, there's all these coaches. Like there's so many coaches. Like this is the same, speaking of storylines we covered before, when Nagy fired his first offense coordinator, then they had 800 coaches in the building.
I have an idea. They should all get shirts that say bunker down and share them and wear them in the locker room. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Those were actually good times.
Oh, yeah.
Remind the listeners when that was, because I remember
that was
that Lance Briggs, right?
No, that was Brandon Marshall.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe that was a Briggs thing too. I think a Briggs era thing too, when they were pretty good. They've done that, but they all, everything's a cliche now. But Adam, to your point, anything like that, which, it's always hard to think that the Bears would ever do something like that, like fire an offensive coordinator or whatever. But even if just that they're thinking about that, there's a bigger picture issue there, and that's that Matt Eberflus would be 0 for 2 in offensive coordinators, and that now you've got, I don't know if the Bears really want to open up that can of worms at that point in time. So I think that call would have to come from even higher up. For something like that to happen. Who knows? It's kind of incredulous almost to even consider that, but I see I see they're certainly heading on that path at this point. But anyway, I think there's a bigger picture issue there, and it goes to intuition about people, about coaches, and just analysis of who can help you. And that, this is a team that talked to Cliff Kingsbury and Clint Kubiak and chose Shane Waldron. At some point you might be saying, what were they thinking? And that's, like I said, that's an even bigger issue. And here we are, we're only in week 4. and we're already here. And getting back to what we were talking about earlier, now they've got a 3-week window here to get this thing right, or they're going to be, if it doesn't, they're looking at a long season of that would be all too typical. And incredulously, with everything that happened, the trade, the trade polls made, and everything he did to get the quarterback, and everything looks so great. Boy, it's amazing how quickly things can turn. But again, they have 3 weeks from now we could be having an entirely different conversation. And that's why these next 3 weeks, like you're saying, are going to be really, really interesting in Chicago.
All right, Mark, before we let you go, let's completely flip this. Flip it all the way around. What gives you? Give me 3 reasons for optimism. 2 reasons. 1 reason. What's been the most encouraging thing for you in a positive sense?
The most encouraging thing is the quarterback is better than Justin Fields or Mitch Trubisky or Cade McNown or Rex Grossman. The Bears have forever been trying to find an offensive coordinator who can make their quarterback. I think they have a quarterback who can make their offensive coordinator, and that's kind of what you need. Andy Reid was a guy who was really good at what he did, but couldn't get over the top until he got Patrick Mahomes, who made him a genius, right? So I think that's number 1. Number 2, I'm trying to think. It's off the top of my head. I'd say the fact that their defensive line is better, is been effective even without Montez Sweat being a dominant player, I think is good. I think that was a question mark early, just like the offensive line has been disappointing, the defensive line. And anytime you have a good defensive line, and kind of funny, we were talking about Gervon Dexter being, I think Travis Smith said he was on a par with Jalen Carter, and then Jalen Carter has just a really great game on I think it was on national TV, or no, it was Sunday, I guess.
The highlights were on national TV.
What's that?
The highlights were on national TV
over
and over
again.
Which
is funny, but anyway, Dexter is making strides. I think he is good. I think he's been really good. So I think defensive line, which is, if that falters, that all of a sudden that back 7 doesn't look as good as they are. That's really key. So I think that's a factor that the defense, I think, can hold. I mean, the Bears have held their opponents now going back to last year, I think 9 straight times, 21 points or less. That's the longest active streak in the league. And so they're giving their offense a chance to win. I think that's good. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I just that the defense in general is holding. But other than that, I can't really think of a real positive. But when you get to quarterback, that's all you need. So I think 2 off the top of my head reasons for optimism is good, because when the reasons for optimism are 3 things outside of the quarterback, that's not as good as long as one of them is the quarterback. And I do believe in Caleb Williams, but I just hope he doesn't get beaten down by the typical things that have beaten down previous Bears quarterbacks. I think he's above that. Seems like he's able to handle it, but it's really early, so it's kind of weird to have this conversation again. I feel like I'm in the twilight zone.
Well, and that's why I'm talking about the urgency of the next few weeks, because that's the fear all over again, right? So, Potsy, thanks so much for joining us. We always appreciate it. Great stuff and really good numbers on what's been going on with the offensive coordinators around the league that the Bears interviewed, because it's a huge storyline. 100%.
Thanks, Adam. We'll see you guys down the road.
See you Sunday.
And there he is, Mark Potash, joining the show. And, a couple things there. I mean, just the optics of the Cliff Kingsbury thing. I mean, again, it's 3 weeks. Let's see how this thing works. I'm not sure I'm completely buying in on what's going on with the Commanders so far, but
the numbers are the numbers.
The numbers are the numbers. And the guy was literally coaching Caleb Williams last year, and you interviewed him, and now he's elsewhere coaching a different rookie, and they're second in the league in points. I mean, that's just, regardless of whatever the reasons were, and they're probably good reasons, like, it still looks bad. It just looks bad.
Like, that's the fast start that the Bears wanted. Like, said they wanted.
That they talked about all August.
Yes. And just like, again, it's the numbers. Passer ratings, a very incomplete stat nowadays, but I think it helps illustrate what we're talking about here. Jaden Daniels has the 5th best passer rating in the league at 111.8. Caleb Williams is at 65.3.
Point is, those are some numbers.
That's right. One more thing. Talk about the defensive line before we get into our three big questions. Because honestly, not to step on your three big questions, my biggest question today is what's going on with Andrew Billings, who popped up on the injury. Sometimes it's hard to read these injury reports, and the head coach doesn't talk on Thursdays, so it leaves a gap where we're going to get answers. We're recording this Friday morning. We'll probably get some answers maybe by the time you even listen to this. But Andrew Billings was on the injury report Wednesday, limited with a knee. So it's the first injury report of the week. You're like, okay, well, maybe he came out of the game with a little thing and he's limited. But then the next day, he's DNP, which always leaves the door open to did that happen in practice on Wednesday? Because a lot of times when you go limited to DNP, it was a practice injury. We don't know that right now, but that has me worried because Andrew Billings has been awesome. His pass rush win rate right now, someone had I think it was Seth Waller had a tweet last night that he's got the highest pass rush win rate for ratio with double teams. So he has the highest pass rush win rate among interior defensive linemen who have been double teamed the most, if that makes sense. He's good.
He's one of the Bears' best players last year, and he's looked even better this year. So that, yes, it's alarming. Maybe they just needed to rest him. We'll see more information coming out. It's 9:45 a.m. here in Chicago, so we're about 3.5 hours out from answers.
But if there's one thing the Rams can hang their hat on right now, it's that they got Kyren Williams. They can run the ball, and if for some reason Billings isn't able to go this week, oh boy. Okay. Should we get to our big questions?
3 big questions. Let me flip 1 and 2 real quick here. Number 1, to continue our offensive coordinator conversation. Has the NFL taken too many apples from the McVay-Shanahan coaching tree?
I don't think so. Because until we see this stop working, how do we say that? Because number 1 on that list of coordinators that Potsy had was Clint Kubiak. It's not even Kingsbury. It's Kubiak. I think I misspoke earlier. I think the Commanders are third.
He's not even like an apple from that tree. Kubiak is a seedling. His father helped design this system that is so famous.
Yeah. And then he was in with the 49ers last year. And it's like just staring you right in the face. But then again, so is Waldron, right? So I'm sure that's the genesis of this question.
Correct.
They're not all going to work, but
Lou Getzi was a semi-extension of this through Matt LaFleur and the Shanahan tree. Yes.
I feel like Getzi was like the like the branch that it's so far off to the side is like you can't tell if it's part of that tree or the next tree next to it.
He's that branch.
He had the McCarthy situation too. That one was a little bit more confusing to me.
That's the thing about this tree. It's now spread so far. It's now kind of.
By the way, are we sure we're not just? Where does the Trace Armstrong tree come into this?
No.
If we're being honest, like that's got to be some part of. There's a tree intersecting there too. That leads to Chicago,
the most powerful coaching agent in the business.
Yeah. All right.
Number 2, is Matthew Stafford a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, for me, I'm a yes on this, and it was getting that Super Bowl as the last kind of thing he needed to get in. The guy's been doing it for so long, so reliable. Put up numbers in Detroit when we used to say the Lions are the Lions, and I don't have his, I wasn't prepared enough to have the Hall of Fame resume in front of me, to fully make the full argument. But to me, it's a yes. What about you?
I don't think he's definitely not a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think he's somewhere in the conversation with Eli Manning, but Eli Manning has 2 Super Bowls and more Pro Bowl appearances. I know Pro Bowls aren't everything. They even become more meaningless as the years have gone on. But Stafford only has 1. He doesn't have a winning record as a quarterback. I know some of that's just Detroit being Detroit, but he does have some ridiculous seasons in Detroit. Some ridiculous winning seasons with some impressive numbers. He's still got a couple years left too. So I think it's incomplete for me right now. I definitely wouldn't put him in as a first ballot Hall of Famer. Maybe not even like his second go around. Maybe not even his third go around. Because I think other players at other positions will have better cases than he does.
Yeah. So, only 2 Pro Bowls, never been an All-Pro. Super Bowl. And then the thing that he's always going to have going for him is just where he is when it comes to stats, though. 11th all-time in passing yards and touchdown passes. The quarterback position. I don't have that list in front of me, but I'm guessing the top 10 are all in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. And I do think that in recent years, and Caleb Williams' affinity for Matthew Stafford is part of that, is part of this. In recent years, I think there's become an increased respect for how talented he is, how impressive his arm talent is specifically, and how good he really is as a quarterback. He's just been put in a better situation now with Sean McVay.
Yeah. And I think you got to put that in the equation. It's just all those years in Detroit, and what he was able to do despite that. Now he did have Calvin Johnson for a long time too, and that helped. But
like if you're Detroit, and usually it's writers from respective cities that make the cases for the Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
Like if you're Dave Burkett in Detroit, you mentioned how bad Detroit has been and how great Matthew Stafford has been. Like you try to differentiate the two.
Right.
Dave's a good dude. All right. Number 3. This is kind of a rapid fire.
Okay.
All right. So bang, bang, bang. I got 3 for you. Who has more catches Sunday? DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, or Cole Kmet?
DeAndre Carter. No, I'm just kidding. Rome Odunze.
Who has more carries Sunday? Roshan Johnson or DeAndre Swift?
Roshan Johnson?
Who has a higher completion percentage on Sunday? Caleb Williams or Matthew Stafford?
Stafford.
Okay.
That was fun.
Yeah, something different.
I think the Rome Odunze thing continues it.
I do too. And that's not to say like DJ Moore won't have his numbers. He was targeted a lot. I mean, I still see 10-ish targets coming to DJ Moore's way.
Well, and if Keenan Allen gets back out there too, that should open things up.
Yeah,
DJ. Cole's always hard to predict. It's like he either gets 12 catches or 0, and you never know what it's going to be.
Yeah, it's one of those games, yeah.
So,
he had a big day last week.
Yeah.
All right. Ready for some more runners?
Let's do it.
This is from Bears Down FTP. Over under on graphics showing the Sean McVay coaching tree on TV on the TV broadcast.
Yeah, we see that.
Over.
Yeah, we see that.
This is from OJ Crispy. Mentions that Stafford is Caleb's most underrated quarterback. Half. Over.
Wait, he said mentions that Stafford.
Stafford is Caleb's most underrated quarterback. Caleb Williams has called Stafford the most. Most underrated quarterback.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was struggling to understand that.
I think you get a mention of it.
You definitely get a mention of what's Caleb. Yeah, some type of Caleb Stafford mention. I don't know if it'll be that specific, but we'll take the over.
We'll count it. But this is from Brett. Over under 5.5. Me saying, what the hell was that when watching Shane Waldron's offense?
5.5. Boy, that better. I'm gonna be serious now. Coming off that discussion we just had with Potsy, though, for Shane Waldron's sake, that better not be over. There'll be a couple, but if we're hitting 6, there's gonna be another Monday morning meeting.
Like the Colts game, hit this over in one possession.
I mean, that's. sometimes we're all guilty of this, myself definitely. You sort of overreact in the middle of the game. You get more information later. You're like, okay, maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought, or this is, I always think about the dude in The Big Lebowski. New information has come to light, man. Right? It happens like every week. I tweeted in the moment that fourth down play call was the worst play call I've ever seen covered in my years covering the Bears, and I feel so much stronger about that tweet now than I did in the moment tweeting it.
What did you call it? You called it one of the worst play call you've ever seen.
I think I said that might have been the worst play call I have seen in my 14 years covering the Chicago Bears, and I am now on Friday taking the word "might" out of that. It was and I've even thought about it. Like, I've asked for submissions for people. Like, what I always think about, wasn't there like a Cordero Patterson stretch play on 4th and something in Los Angeles that Nagy called, and it was just doomed from the start? Like, that was a bad one. There's been some bad ones, but like,
there's just, this is up there with what was the Paul Asiki play where he fell into the leg of Kyle Long and forever changed his career in Tampa.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that like stands up there as like one of there's Mark Trestman.
Yeah, that was no, I think that was after Trestman. That was might have been a Dow Loggins play call.
Dow Loggins might have been Dow Loggins, but that's up there just in terms of like how it changed Kyle's career.
There's some bad luck involved in that. The whole process on that fourth down is just so effed. And it goes all the way up to the head coach not calling timeout, not understanding what was happening. And then honestly, there's some smart guys on Twitter, like @SmartFootball, who was retweeting that DeAndre Carter. Like, someone can make an argument that the DeAndre Carter putting him in that position on third down was actually worse than the fourth down play call.
Yes. It sounds like hearing Matt Eberflus talk about that one, like that one disgusted him more than the 4th and goal one, which I think says something. Like, that is a classic case of not putting your players in position to succeed.
Well, I think on the fourth down, based on what Flus said Monday, I think he felt like Caleb still had time to check.
Yeah, but that's
where
I'm like blaming Caleb on this. Like,
I know 100%.
It's his 3rd career start on the road, loud stadium, on the goal line. Help him out and call a timeout.
Yeah, you have 3 timeouts.
Even Waldron yesterday. I got to get the play in sooner.
It's too big of a moment to be screwing around there. So yeah, I don't think we're overstating this at all, and we're leaving the door open to it improving. And I think Caleb's good enough to honestly bail them out on this as he continues to play well. But this is just not a good start through 3 weeks.
All right, we have a few more good ones here. This is from Chris. Over under a number of times my wife shouts, "What have they done now?" from the other room as a result of my expletive-laden commentary of the Bears. 3.5 is the line. Over.
Yeah. I was actually getting lectured by my wife the other night, which I felt like was unfair. It's usually is the case, but she was mad at me because, like, she's from Wisconsin. So the first thing she does is, like, she becomes a White Sox fan. And, like, she's just mad about that. Like, and I don't blame her. Like, I'm mad. I just tell her to blame Jerry. But
why are you mad? Can't you just be sad?
Well, I'll take the blame for that. But, like, her investment into the Bears now, like, that's on her. I'm not home on Sundays. I don't know what you're mad at me for. Like, I'm not making you do this. But yeah, she's like, the same thing's happening. She's like, you're always saying that the quarterback's going to be good. I'm like, okay, Caleb is going to be good. Stop yelling at me.
I'll be like, I am guilty of that too. Like, with just like Bears fan friends. I'm naturally an optimistic guy.
Yeah, we both are on this show.
Yeah, and I'm like, you know what? Give Mitch a chance. Nagy's offense looks different. I've never seen anything kind of like he's doing some different things. Give it a chance, And then there's a couple good games, and all of a sudden, just they always bust my chops over stuff like that.
And then we end up with stuff like this.
You love the interception questions, like I was counting you for that.
So you're getting yelled at both ways, right?
Yeah.
You're getting yelled at by your friends. You're getting yelled at by the quarterback. Then you're getting frustrated.
What a waste of time training camp was, guys.
802 episodes of this.
Oh.
All right, what else we got?
This is from Davis. This is a funny one. This is from Davis. Clips of the Bears O-line blocking fresh air available 1 hour after the Rams game ends. Over and under 1.5. I'm read it again. Clips of the Bears O-line blocking fresh air available 1 hour after the Ram games ends. Over and under 1.5.
So essentially a viral clip of an offensive lineman blocking nobody.
Missing blacks, yes.
Yeah.
Maybe you get one.
Yeah, we're good here. This is where we're gonna be optimistic, right? We're gonna say under.
Yeah.
That's funny though. That is funny.
All right, quickly, two on Caleb Williams. This is from Eric. Over under number of Michael Jordan throws by Caleb Williams, 2.5. Those are the ones where he rolls to his left and he
jump man
contorts his body.
It's a good number, 2.5. I feel like we see 2 every game at least. I'm
going over. He likes to roll to his left.
Yeah, he's very comfortable. Dude, I'll say 3. I'll say 3. Yeah, over.
This is from Bearer from Chicago. Bearer for Chicago. Caleb passing attempts. Over under 55.5. I'm going way under. I don't think they even flirt with 50 again.
Yeah, people keep bringing this up to me, and I agree. Obviously, you can't have him throwing 52, 53, whatever times it was. There were a lot of plays in that game that always contributes, but I think you'll have fewer plays. You'll have more emphasis on running the ball. I wouldn't shock me if he's at 30 though. I hope they're living in a world of 30. I don't want to see these Justin Fields games where they throw the ball 17 times. They have a quarterback. Use them. That's okay. But yeah, 50 is a little 55 certainly. That's on the high end.
Yeah, if I just set it at 31.5, I think that's a good number.
Yeah. And I might take the over on that.
Me too.
Yeah. All right. I guess it's that time. Should we make our pick?
Let's do it.
In this football game. All right, it's Bears, it's Rams, it's a noon game, it's on Fox. Here's a Fishbane fun fact for you. Adam Amin is calling this game, and the Bears are 4-0 when Adam Amin calls their football games this season. How are they 4-0? Well, they've only won 1 game, Adam. Well, thank you for asking. He called the preseason games too, and I am counting them for this fun fact as wins.
They're the greatest preseason team of all time.
Yeah, because he didn't call the Hall of Fame game, which the Bears also won. They did go 4-0 in the preseason, right?
Yeah.
It's amazing how quickly I forget the preseason.
With good reason.
Yeah. It happens every year. It's like the week after the preseason ends, I couldn't even tell you who they played.
You know how often like you're telling a story about a player who's now moving up the roster and he did something great in the preseason.
Yeah.
And how you have to go searching for that game sometimes. Now the NFL has made it easier over the years, but I remember in the past, like you're looking for preseason schedules that like teams don't even list them on their website, like after the year. Like Pro Football Reference doesn't have them.
Yeah, you got to go in the NFL website to find it.
All
right. The Bears did go 4-0. Adam Amin called 3 of those games. He also called the season opener against the Titans. And also he's a friend of the show. So anyway, that's reason enough for the Bears to win this game. It's the only thing I'm basing this on. I got the Bears winning 24-20.
I got the Bears winning 23-20. My reasoning, it's more of a gut pick than anything. I really don't feel good about it. I think the injury situation for the Rams maybe reveals itself a bit more coming to Chicago. Could be like it's a really windy day today. Could be wet tomorrow. I'm not sure what Sunday holds because this hurricane-like system kind of works its way up through the Midwest. So we'll see what the future holds weather-wise Sunday. But yeah, I got the Bears 23-20. Don't feel good about it, but I will have another bold prediction. Another Roma Dunze touchdown. Is that a bold prediction? I'm going to say it's a bold prediction because good things like this don't happen in consecutive weeks. For the Chicago Bears, it's going to happen this week. The rookie's success continues. It's
bold predictions.
By the way, I echo you on your lack of confidence in the pick. I actually wrote that in my newsletter this morning. I said, believe it or not, this tape shows signs of the offense breaking out, and this might just be the right defense to do it against. This is not a confident pick, though, as I just based it on who was calling the game for Fox, obviously. My bold prediction, let's keep it rolling. Jack Sanborn causes another takeaway.
Well,
things happen when he's on the
over
field.
Under on snaps for Jack Sanborn this week. Defensive snaps, 9.5.
I'm gonna take over. They got to find ways to get him on the field more. By the way, a little teaser. I had a one-on-one chat with Jack Sanborn in the locker room yesterday about this very conversation, about what it's like to be a guy who doesn't get to play a lot, but when you do, like, you have a just obvious impact on the game. And we talked about that. So that'll be airing on our CHGO pregame show, which begins at 11 a.m. on Sunday. By the way, tickets to our tailgate that Adam Jahns will never show up to are available. We've got a big crew coming out Sunday.
You got a parking spot for me?
No, they don't even have parking for me, man. It's like a tailgate lot without parking because it's just a big party. I will say this doesn't help you because you got to get to the stadium. But if you do come out, the Green Line stop right there, Cermak, is literally adjacent to the parking lot. Like, you get off the Green Line, you're at the parking lot. It is extremely convenient. So yeah, it's a fun time though.
Maybe.
I'll be there from 8 to 9:30 again. If anybody wants to come out, I know we've already sold a ton of tickets. So
where do you park? You park on the street then?
Well, yeah, I do, because if you the Soldier Field parking restriction doesn't kick until 10, and I got to get to the studio anyway to go do pregame, so I kind of get in and out before I have to move my car.
Okay,
there is some parking if you get there early enough that you can actually keep your car there, and I believe there are some. If for people listening, there are some spots, like limited spots, you can actually pay for too. But yeah, it's at the corner of Cermak and Wabash. It's a huge party. There's actually multiple tailgates going on in this big parking lot, like big ones. So it's a really cool spot to be pregame. And shout out to Greg Braggs again. He's getting 2 shout outs in one Hoge and Jahns episode. So we're gonna have to lower those. Greg, you're not getting another shout out for a week, but
at least a week.
At least a week. But he does a phenomenal job setting these tailgates up. And somehow doing it all with no knees. It's very impressive. So anyway, allchgo.com/events for that. All right, where the hell are we at in the show? I think it's time to talk about other games.
Yes.
Okay. We got on CBS noon. Hang on, let me get the sounder. CBS noon, the Super Bowl bound Minnesota Vikings head to Green Bay to face the Packers. We get our first NFC North.
I don't have the lines in here. That's on me. Hold on.
Oh my God, you don't.
Slacking.
Do we need to pause, or can you actually?
No, I'll pull them up. What's the game?
It's the Vikings and the Packers.
Packers -2.5.
Okay. This is a tricky one. First of all, this line tells you that they think Jordan Love's playing, right? Which seems like he will. The Packers have been very impressive so far. So have the Vikings, obviously. I think it comes down to earth here for Minnesota. At some point, it has to, right?
I thought that last week.
I know. If the Packers can win 2 games with Malik Willis, they got to be able to cover 2.5 point spread with Jordan Love. I'm going to take the Packers.
I'm going to take the Vikings.
Okay.
I'm starting to buy what Kevin O'Connell's selling.
Yeah. Well, he's a good coach. I don't
good play caller.
I have no argument there whatsoever. We didn't talk about. I want to reverse back to the Bears. Speaking of spreads, because I will agree, this spread's like kind of begging you to pick Green Bay. I feel like that's how I feel about the Bears. Part of the reason why I picked the Bears to win by 4 is this is, if I were not associated with the Bears or covering the Bears, and I was just like looking at these spreads for this week, I would be highly suspicious of this Bears-Rams spread. And I'd be like, why are the Bears favored by 3 points? They're begging you to put money on the Rams in this game. And that's part of the reason why I think the Bears are going to win by 4 and cover. Yep. It's just one of those suspicious games to me that's like, I don't understand the line. It feels like the Rams should be favored in this game. And if the Bears are favored, they should be favored by a field goal. So, yeah, I feel the same way about both of these games. All right.
Josh, who's the best meat smoker of your offensive line? What
do you mean by meat smoker?
CBS Noon, we got the Steelers and Justin Fields going to Indy to play the Colts.
The Colts are getting 1.5.
They are at home.
I put this one on there because the Justin Fields conversation just won't go away.
Right.
And I'm okay with that because the better he plays, the better it is for the Bears. Like I understand why it needs to be part of this conversation, but it's the comparisons between the quarterbacks and the production. Justin Fields is 3-0. Bears just lost at the Colts. Get what I'm getting? See what I'm getting here?
Yeah.
I want to hear if I could talk.
I'm gonna take the Steelers. I think their defense is just humming right now.
Yes.
You can certainly make the case that eventually the Fields turns the ball over twice. Game happens. Jonathan Taylor looks good, but I don't trust Anthony Richardson. I trust Justin Fields more than Anthony Richardson. That's a fun little quarterback matchup, though, between two guys that can run really well. I'm going to take the Steelers. Trust the coaching. Trust the defense. They cover the 1.5.
Yeah, Anthony Richardson's in store for another long day. I thought he had a long day against the Bears. This could be even worse. And the Steelers will have a better game plan than the Bears did.
We're going to be simple. We're going to play fast. We're going to play hard. We're going to kill it, okay? This is a great acronym, you guys, right? Kill it. Keep it likable and learnable.
Man, I forgot about that guy. Brock Olivo?
Yeah.
We've covered so many coaches.
I know.
I'm scratching my eye over it.
Wasn't he just hired as like the assistant special teams coach?
Wasn't he the assistant special teams coach here?
Well, that's what I mean. Isn't that what that's from? Or no, that was when he was hired by the Broncos, I think. And he was their actual special teams coach. Yeah. I think that's where that sound clip's from. Fox Noon, Bengals at Panthers.
I put this one in there because the Panthers are coming to town next. And let me find this spread for you. The Panthers.
I got it for you. The Bengals are favored by 4.5.
Yes.
So I'm tempted to take the Panthers here. I thought last week was a good week to take the Panthers. Quarterback switch, Andy Dalton made a huge difference. You kind of saw that one coming. As much as I've been down on the Bengals since, honestly, they came to House Hall and practiced against the Bears, offensively, they did get their shit together against Washington. And come on, the Panthers aren't that good. So I don't know if it's going to be a pretty game, but I will take the Bengals to cover.
I got the Bengals by a touchdown.
There you go. All right. Fair enough.
The philosophy is a kill philosophy. Keep it likable and learnable. So that's an acronym for not, you know what I'm talking about. Keep it likable and learnable.
I still love Chuck Pagano. NBC, this is your Sunday night game. This is a good-ass game. 7:20. The Bills. Josh Allen does not care that scoring's down. He does not care that he doesn't have Stephon Diggs. He basically does not care. He's just good.
He's an awesome football player.
And there's no question Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. So far through this season, Josh Allen's been the best quarterback this season. It's not even that close. But they go to Baltimore. Tough game against the Ravens. The Ravens are favored by 2.5.
2.5. Yeah. Every year for the Athletic, we have to put in our season awards, our predictions. And I feel really good about my Josh Allen MVP award.
Ooh, that does feel good.
And I felt pretty bold making it in the moment, especially that he lost his best receiver. But I don't know. I feel like there was some story I read coming out of Buffalo where just kind of stuck in my mind. And So I'm gonna pat myself on the back for that one. Give me the Bills in this one.
Yeah.
I'll take the points, but I think they're winning outright.
I agree with you. I think they're rolling. I think that you have the best quarterback in the league. Defense is playing well despite some injuries. Really well coached team, obviously. Interesting situation too, where I almost brought up his name earlier in the show when we were talking about Waldron. Joe Brady was in Carolina, and it was a highly publicized, hiring. They brought him over from that high-flying LSU offense that had Joe Burrow, and it just didn't work. It just didn't mesh. But Joe Brady's now in a different spot, proving he's a pretty good coach. So sometimes, that's a thing. And just something to think about. Anyway, I got the Bills.
You better lock it up. You better lock it up. No, you lock it up. You lock it up. Lock it up. Lock it up.
All right. And then finally, our last one.
Hello, everyone. This is Al Riveron.
That's a name I haven't thought about in a while. Monday night, 7:15 on ESPN. We actually have 2 Monday night games again.
I don't like that.
So this is actually 7:15. This will actually be your game on ABC, I believe. Seahawks at line. You don't like it?
2 Monday night games? No. Why can't
I'm
it just be
okay.
one?
Well, because last weekend I was glad there was 2 games because I was more excited about the Jags-Bills game, and then that thing was over in a quarter. And I was like, cool, there's another game to switch over to. That's nice.
Fine. I'm old-fashioned.
I'm selfish about this one because we're working on Sunday. We don't get to really experience the full NFL extravaganza. So Monday night, it's nice to have 2 games on for me. Get the multiple monitors going. Be able to pay attention to more teams. So I'm okay with it.
Functioning offensive football.
Yeah, I mean that Commanders Bengals game was fun. The Lions are 3.5-point favorites at home against the Seahawks.
Give me the Lions by a touchdown.
I think it's close. I think they win by 4. I think they barely cover. The Lions do win. All right. Fun episode. Thanks to Potsy for coming on. Appreciate you guys being here as we break down another Bears game. This is a big game. I thought last week's game was big. It just felt like a missed opportunity against a team that the Bears seem to be the better team. Now I think that applies again this week, but especially with the injuries, but you got to go out there and do it. And that's why I think it's just, you got to prove you can win a game like this at home. Did you know, credit to Jeff Joniak, because I had not heard this, so I apologize if this has been floating around elsewhere. Do you know the Bears, if they win on Sunday, will have a 7-game home winning streak, which would be the most in the entire league?
I did not know that. Which also means it's not going to happen.
Probably not.
Okay.
Let me change my prediction here.
Yeah. You want to do it for real?
No.
Okay.
No. It's been an interesting week for the Bears. I don't know why, but I feel like they could get their shit together for this week. It's going to work. The Rams are injured. I think Caleb Williams has a good game. The ball is moved around. It's spread around, I should say, and he has a good game. So I'm sticking to my prediction. Bears win.
So take that and think about that for a little bit.
All right.
What else? Go ahead. I'm listening.
There's nothing else, man. We are out of here. Enjoy the game. We'll be back Monday, 9 a.m. with your recap episode. We'll be live on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Hoge and Jahns on YouTube. Go hit subscribe. Join us live at 9 a.m. Otherwise, it'll be out a little bit later as a podcast, as always. But we appreciate the support. Thanks to Kent Garrison and Brandon Nix, who's been helping us out as well. Newer producer here on the show. Great job by everybody involved, and we will talk to you on Monday.
See ya.